Preeta Muniswar, a veteran stylist and makeup artist with over 22 years experience and new salon owner as of 2019, also does tons of runway style and travels around the world doing fashion shows. Today, we're going to learn about how did she open her salon and get into that. Welcome back to the Hairdresser Strong Show. My name is Robert Hughes and I am your host. Today, I'm with Preeta. What's up, Preeta? How are you?
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on the show. Nice to see you. I used to live down in Miami Beach area.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice. Yeah, I've been here 20 years already.
nice. And so are you you weren't born and raised in Miami
I
or
was
Florida
not. I
area?
was born and raised in Toronto, Canada.
Okay.
I actually started doing hair there in Toronto. Um,
Okay.
yeah, the first time I actually started doing anything to do with hair was in high school. We had a school fashion show, and me and a friend of mine decided that we would volunteer to do the hair. And both of us actually own our own salons today.
Oh
She has
wow, look at that.
one, and I have one here in Miami. So yeah,
Okay, cool.
we kind of knew from a long time ago what we liked.
Nice. Awesome. So let's kind of go back then. In high school, were you in a cosmetology program in high school or no?
No, they so the type of programs they have here in America, they don't have that in Canada or in Toronto at least. So it was just like, all the girls were rounding up to be the models in the show. And I was like, well, that's fun. But what about the hair? I mean, I always like doing my own hair for school and stuff like that. And yeah, we decided to do the hair and we volunteered to do it and it turned out great and we had a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. So what happened? Like, how did you get into doing hair? Did you aren't learn or sorry, how did you did you have to get a license? Did you go to
I
school? Did you do an
did. I
apprenticeship
did.
program?
So in when I finished high school, I actually went to college for computer programming.
Okay.
Yeah, and I used to work at the bank. After like the first year, I just basically went to school and I went to work and I quit both. And then I went home and told my parents like I quit everything that I was doing. And then like a few weeks later, my dad was like, did you ever think about doing hairdressing? And I was like, I thought about it, but I didn't think you thought that I. So yeah, here we are now. I signed up for hair school there, Cosmo School in Toronto. I went to Marvell Beauty Academy or hair school, or I don't know, forgot what it's called. And in Canada, at the time that I did go to school, you had to do a 3 to 5 year apprenticeship as well as go to school.
Wow.
So yeah, I got my license there in Canada first, and then I applied for reciprocity once I got here to Miami. But
Okay.
it's like a pretty intense training that you do there. And yeah, I think it's really good because you learn a lot on the job. So the apprenticeship part, I think, is really important.
So oh wait. So you went to school and
Yes,
how long was
completed
school?
1,500. I think it was 1,500 hours.
So like
1,500
little
hours, and you got a booklet like about this thick of all these things that you have to fill out, like that you have to complete.
yeah.
Once your employer feels that you've completed it, they submit it to the board and then you're able to go write your license. And yeah, it's like a 2-part license. It's you go write the first part. Once you pass that, you're apprentice, and then you go back and write your full license.
And so did you do the apprenticeship there too?
I had to in order to get my Canadian license.
I
Now it's
see.
an option that you don't have to,
Oh,
but yeah, that was like 20 something years ago. So I had to do it. So
gotcha.
I finished faster than 5 years. I got it done in 3 years instead of 5. But a lot of that is accredited to like actually starting apprenticing or assisting while I was in school.
Mm.
So you're kind of killing two birds at with one stone at the same time.
Yeah. I when I go visit the students at schools, I try to express the importance of going to getting a job while you're in school, not only to learn, but also like get your foot in the door. And so many of them just want to like stay late and go in on their days off and like get the license quicker. What do you think about that?
Um, you can get the license quicker if you want to, but it doesn't take away from the experience that you need in salon. It's two totally different worlds. Um, I got the experience here to work with a beauty school, and they were salon owners as well. So we really saw the difficulty that students had to transition for new graduates, even though you were licensed, and to actually becoming a hairstylist, earning a good, decent salary. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of steps in between that beauty school doesn't provide you, and a lot of the time your employer doesn't provide you either.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, all you rising stylists listening or watching, hope you heard that. I'm not the only one saying it. So anyway, moving on. So you so you do your school, you do your apprenticeship program, and then did you work behind the chair or did you come straight to the US?
I did. I worked for like 2 years with it was actually a schoolmate of mine in hairdressing school, but he was older and he had bought 3 salons already. So I assisted in one of his salons until I got my license, and then I worked for about a year in Toronto first, and then I moved to Miami, and
Okay.
and then I started working here. It was a longer process. I had to really fight to get my license here. They didn't want to offer reciprocity. I basically called the state board for like maybe 2 months every day. So I got to somebody who actually read the whole statute. I'm like, look, I need someone who actually read the statute, because in your statute, it says that I'm allowed to go just write the exam and get reciprocity, which eventually that's what happened and I did. But again, like nothing comes easy. Just keep going and keep pursuing whatever it is. I even considered going back to hairdressing school because I figured I moved to another country. I don't know anybody here. Maybe it's a good opportunity to meet people and clients and different things. But then when they told me the price, I was like, oh, hell no, I already paid once. I'm not doing it again.
Yeah, right. It's not
Yeah.
cheap.
Yeah, no, it's not at all.
No. So all right, so let's say you're working behind the chair. How many salons did you work at before you decided that you were ready to open your own salon?
I guess technically 4, but
Okay.
the first one was pretty much like while I was getting my license for here, I worked there for maybe 6 months to kind of get an idea of Miami a little. And then the second salon I worked in, a friend of mine that I met while living here, she's like, hey, let's go apply at this salon in the mall. And I'm like, okay. So her and I go and we apply, and they hired both of us on the spot. They hired me as a manager for one store, and they hired her as a manager for the other store, two
Okay.
stores in the mall. And I was like, wow, this is pretty crazy. I didn't think I was going to get hired for like on the spot kind of thing. And I was like 22. I had no idea what I was doing, but I said yes anyways. I was like, yeah, I'll just learn along the way. I know how to do hair for the most part, or I thought I did. And, I guess I was just fearless. Both of us said yes. We both took the jobs. And I worked at that company for like 10 years, actually.
Wow.
And then the second salon I worked at was the one I was talking about earlier, the beauty school. I had opened 2 salons, a nail salon and a hair salon in the mall I worked at. And I started working there as a hairstylist. Eventually became the manager of that salon and the manager of the nail salon. So I was operating those 2 stores. And for a short time, there was a third store in another location. So I was doing a few locations at the same time and behind the chair. And then that owner had a business consultant. So the business consultant ended up taking over the salon. So that's why I say technically 4. She was always there. It was always the same team. I didn't have to change much, just the ownership changed. And from there is when I decided, like, okay, I had enough. I'm going to try it for myself.
Wow. So it sounds like you got a little bit of an apprenticeship in management as well. I mean, you got
Yeah, I did. I did.
to learn
Well,
right
if
on the
you,
shop.
yeah, yeah, you got to. Sometimes it's hard to see what we can actually learn while we're in the situations or like going through the motions. But I'm a big believer in like reflecting and going back and like saying, okay, what worked, what didn't, and like we can always learn something. So always trying to see what can I gain from this experience.
Yeah.
My
Wow.
my old boss, she had multiple stores all over the country, and I just learned as much as I could from her. Really, or
Yeah.
learn everything I could.
Well, so you go to school, you get your apprenticeship program, you start working behind the chair, you move. What made you want to move to Miami? How did that happen?
I was in my early 20s and my parents, my whole family moved here. And at first I wasn't going to move and I was going to stay living in Toronto and doing whatever. And then my dad kind of says, you can do whatever you want, but I don't want you to say I didn't give you an opportunity that I gave to your sisters. So I would like you to come and at least try it out for a little bit. So at least you can say, okay, I tried it and I don't like it. And at the time too, had a boyfriend I was dating, and I was like, oh, I'm not moving and that kind of stuff. Again, then my dad's words of wisdom were like, well, if you're so in love, like you say, love conquers all and you'll be fine. And I was like, okay, well, maybe you're right. And yeah, I'm married to that same husband right
Oh,
now.
wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
So he was right.
So your dad was living here in the States?
Yeah, both of my parents, my sisters, we all moved here together in
Okay.
one.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Well, that's a cool story.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I think I got an understanding. You did a lot of like groundwork and learning through experience, and
Yes.
sounds like you probably didn't have much of a life there for a little bit. I mean, how are you working behind the chair, running multiple salons?
You know what? The one is you have to have a really good team, invest in your team, spend time with your team. That is one of the only reasons I could do what I do, because I also have 3 kids.
Wow.
So I do a lot of things, but you have to really be able to delegate and choose the right team. You
Yeah.
own, and I guess I always say shoot for the stars and land in the clouds. And yeah, like I want a lot of things, so I got to figure it out.
Yeah, nice. I love
Determined to
that.
figure it out.
Okay, so that kind of segues us into talking about um how did you know that you were ready to open a salon? I guess you said that you were working on
By the time I was starting to thinking about opening my own salon, I had already been 20 years doing hair, like 18 years, something like between hair and managing and all that. So I had like a good, I'll say at least 15 years of between the 2 different stores managing. So like in that sense, I kind of knew what it was. And for a long time, I didn't want to open my own store because how I always thought about it was like, if I cannot open a store as good or better than where I'm working, I might as well just stay here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good
I
point.
don't want to leave because like it's a lot of work to go open your own store and do all that and build a team and that kind of stuff. So I was like, well, if it's good here, why would I go backward? I felt like it would have been going backwards. So it was actually my birthday and my parents came over for dinner. And after dinner, we had a toast, and I was like, you know what? Next year when it's my birthday, we're gonna be toasting in my own salon. I'm not doing this anymore. And everything kind of just started snowballing. Like by the January, my birthday's in November. By January, I already started seeing different locations and getting my heart broken and turned down and different stuff. And then I eventually came across one of the salons I went to see. The realtor of that salon was like, Prita, I've heard of you and I know you and I want to show you somewhere else. And I was like, okay. So I went with her to this place, which is now the salon I own now. And I was like, actually, this place seems pretty perfect. It didn't need too much reconstruction and all that stuff. And so the realtor, she was actually a very wise woman. She's actually been in Miami for like 20 years, buying and selling salons, and that's all she does. She doesn't do other real estate. So she's kind of in her own little niche expert and really gave me good advice. And I guess the key with it is that I listened to her, because then the pandemic happened.
Interesting. I want to go back to something. You said that you were having your heart broken, being turned down. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Like during the process, like if anybody's out there thinking about going to open a salon, they probably going to want to know like what type of letdowns are to expect.
Sure. Okay, like buying a salon is not like going to Macy's and picking out your favorite blouse and walking home with it, right? I saw several spaces that like I was like, oh no, this is the perfect one. I at first originally thought I wanted to do a whole build out. I didn't end up doing that. I was like, oh, picking floors and picking all kinds of stuff that I never even ended up doing. Then another location I saw, they were like, oh, I'm sorry, we want a big name. We don't want a little small business owner. So, it's like different things like that. Another place I saw, it was like a good location. The salon needed to be gutted. And then the landlord was like a jerk. And I was like, I don't really want to sign up for 5 years with a jerk. So
Right.
like, there's just all different hiccups along the way. You just can't let them deter you, you know?
Gotcha.
Yeah. And
Cool.
you keep going looking for whatever you think you want. And actually, what I thought I wanted versus what I ended up doing was two totally different things. Like I said, I thought I was just going to start from scratch and build out this whole amazing designed, architected salon kind of thing. And I didn't do that. I bought an existing salon, revamped it, and yeah, I brought my team over, and here we are.
Did were there already stylists at the salon when you bought it?
Yeah, there were like five, I think, or three
Did you
like
keep any of them?
everybody was welcome to stay, and actually two of them, one had left right before I got here because they got wind that the salon was being sold, so they left. And then the second one, she left like within the first 2 weeks, but the other staff, including the old owner, still works here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. Okay. And then so you what about the rest of your team? You said you had some other team members?
So I think in the beginning, like about 6 or 7 of us, maybe even eight of us came from the salon I was managing previously. When they knew I was leaving, they wanted to come. So they came over with me. About 8 of us came over.
What was that like? How that sounds like a drama story right there.
You know, everything is however you make it and how you approach things. I'm gonna say that. So I mean, I was honest with my old boss. Like I had a very good relationship with her. So I just told her, I'm gonna be quitting. I didn't give a bunch of notice. I gave a few days notice just because of the way our industry is. And I didn't want to put her in a position to say, oh, well, I need you to leave or whatever. I go, look, tomorrow's gonna be my last day. Well, I told her in like the beginning of the week that Saturday would be my last day. I'm just gonna, spend the rest of the week here. If you would need me to leave before, that's fine. But like I said, we had a good relationship, and my clients are going to either come with me or stay in the salon. If they're my client, they will come, and if not, they will stay. And the same thing with the salon. I kind of worked in a lot of other salons that you owners make a lot of promises to get hairstylists to come work for them, and then at some point in time it's very hard to keep delivering on their promise, and I didn't want to do that. That was one of the mistakes that I think is really hard, and it ties your hands. You're always trying to please someone or another and not really pleasing the business, not doing what the business needs. So I didn't want to do that. Kind of what I did was like, I'm leaving, guys. This is where I'm going. This is what I'm doing. I would love for you all to join me, or whoever wants to join me is more than welcome to come. And I kind of left it like that. Whoever wanted to come, they reached out and we figured it out. And whoever didn't stayed where they were and did whatever they had to do.
Nice.
And I ended up seeing like Miami is big and small at the same time. We go to events that I have to see my old boss there anyway. So that was in June. In the November, we went to an event and she was there. So, we had a hello talking. She was like, I miss you. I used to talk to you every single day, and now I don't talk to you. And I was like, I don't know. You can call me up whenever you want.
Yeah, nice. I love this. This is so
Yeah.
good. I feel like this is so good for anybody that's I feel like so many stylists, I feel like so many salon owners were probably in a somewhat similar situation where they were working somewhere, they were opening up a new spot, they were thinking about who's going to come with them, how they're going to tell their boss, and all that stuff. So this is so good.
Honestly, I think that you get what you give. And if you're not doing anything, like if you have a boss or an owner or whoever that doesn't want to see you grow and succeed, then you'll not grow and succeed in their four walls either. At the end of the day, my old boss, she told me, she goes, I've only known one other person like you. And I'm like, well, where is that person now? Oh, well, she owns her own stores in California. So that was a few years ago. And I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, well, eventually she knows that I'm probably going to look for something else or do something else or whatever it is, because she said it herself. Like people like you don't just stay stuck or stay the same. You're going to continue to grow and evolve.
What?
And then what goes around it, everybody wants to own a salon and have a staff, but then the way you leave your other staff or your other business or your other boss will determine how you shape the future of your own place.
That's good. What do you think it was about you that made her say that? Like it about you
Uh,
saying that you
I think I'm a pretty hard
I've only known one other
worker.
person like you.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I work pretty hard. Maybe she's not, sometimes could be difficult to some people to work with. And I just try to do my job. My parents brought us up like do your best no matter what, and that's just what I did. I tried my best no matter what.
Cool.
I mean, everybody knows that in our business, you have a lot of personalities. And I guess sometimes it's easy to get sucked one way or another into stuff, but it's really just about being like focused, clear-minded, not getting one way or another, really trying to be non-emotional when you think of things and make decisions.
Nice. So so I guess what is your if you had to give out one piece of advice to a rising stylist or aspiring hair salon owner, what would it be?
I guess I got lots of advice, but one is never stop learning. Two, always be yourself, like be yourself no matter what, you know? I think and believe in yourself as well. It sounds cheesy, but those things really, a lot of people will doubt you. A lot of people will say different things to you, but it's up to you to really show them, this is what I'm made of. And sometimes you're your only cheerleader, but that's okay.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Good. All right, awesome. Well, real quick, you said at the beginning of the interview that you got into hairdressing by volunteering for a fashion show, and I was checking out your website and your Insta, and I saw that y'all have done a few fashion shows. Um,
Yeah.
I would love to hear more about that, but maybe that's a conversation for another day. But would you real
Sure.
quick tell us like how you got into how the first fashion show and as a salon owner that you got it up and going, like got to be part of it?
So, at the same time that we got hooked up with this show, it was like around the same time that I was transitioning to the new salon because this was June 2019. I was moving to the new salon and I kept getting these emails from a company I'd never heard of. And I was like, I asked some of the other stylists, have you heard of these people? They keep hitting me up for a fashion show for Swim Week. And then when I was leaving and coming to this salon, I just responded and I was like, hey, I'm interested. What do you guys need? And they said they need like 10 hairstylists and 10 makeup artists. So I told them, I go, look, I could do 10 hairstylists, but you guys figure out the makeup, I'll bring the hair team. And that's where it all began with her. This was with Planet Fashion TV. And actually now it's almost 3 years later and I'm their lead hair and makeup person. So
Cool.
come to Monaco this year. It'll be fun.
Nice. Monaco, you said?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Crazy trip.
That's awesome. All right.
Hmm.
Well, maybe next time we talk, we can hear more about that, or more about what it's like being a salon owner, or some other topic. But before we close out, I like to end with a laugh and ask my guests what is one of the most embarrassing moments that they've had, or a time that something happened and you didn't think it was funny, but you thought it was funny later, as it pertains to the industry. Do you have a story that pops into mind?
Do you know that like I had to ask my coworkers, I'm like, do you guys know anytime I was embarrassed at work? And because like a lot of my team, I've worked with them for like 12 years. So I'm like, hey, do you remember any time? I mean, one time I came here and my skirt on the back was ripped all the way open. And that I mean, I think more than, I guess that was embarrassing. I have other like crazy moments. My old salon, my old boss comes up to me and she's like, oh, Preeta, I want you to cut my friend's son's hair. And I'm like, sure, whatever. Like, a 12-year-old, 11-year-old kid. Then she's like, oh yeah, by the way, it's Elon Sassoon, his son. And I was like, what? Like Vidal Sassoon's grandson? And she's like, yeah, like him. And I was like, what the hell? So I will go to the back room and I'm like freaked out. And I'm like, he's an 11-year-old kid. Can I use the clipper? Should I not? Should I use the thinning shear? Like I was like freaked out. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back and cut his hair. And yeah, everything turned out fine, but it was just I guess I felt a little pressure, meeting
Nice.
Vidal and grandson in the same day and cutting their hair.
That's a super cool story right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So was he happy with his haircut? Did he love it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Actually, you know what? I was so impressed by him because I do a lot of like I do kids too. So a lot of kids, they're just on their phone like this.
Yeah.
He was so engaging. He was I was really impressed by that. I like that.
Nice. Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Definitely look forward to having
Yeah.
you on again soon.
Thank you for having me so much.
Absolutely. All right. And if you're listening on Spotify, please give us a rating. 5 stars is preferable. And follow us. If you're watching on YouTube or Instagram, please subscribe, follow, like, comment, help support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. And thanks again for listening. And thanks again, Preeta, for coming on to the show.
Thank you again for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.